I just have people calling me from that that corporation over there,
right?
And they're upset. And I for years I didn't say anything, but I'm like, you know what? I'll just.
Wait, who's upset?
That Howard's organization. I got people calling from within the.
Oh, because of the Daily Mail article?
No, long before that. They're just upset the way the stories I hear. The way they're getting treated. It's not the guy I knew.
Yeah. I've heard those stories for the last bunch of years. They're leaking out.
But he's not the man I knew. Like the way he's treating people supposedly. I mean, they're just hearsay and stuff. So I just kind of. Let stuff out a little bit because those people have to have a little bit of a voice. You're talking about people who are, homeless, maybe, who used to work for them.
Right.
And they can't get in touch with them. People who left a lot of blood on that floor, man.
Right. Made the show great.
I didn't have to, talk about felonies I committed on the biggest radio show. I didn't have to. That wasn't in the contract. I didn't check with anybody. And I'd get out on the 6th Avenue after that show going, what did I just say?
Yeah. Bill Burr used to say stuff like that. Bill Burr would come, not felony stuff, but I mean, he would. But
you got to commit him to have a story.
Yeah, he would be on the radio show, and it would just get so ugly and so like twisted and dark. And then he would leave the building and go, and then I'm facing a bright sunny day, and I feel like I needed to go take a rape shower. No,
and then it's New York. Got a UPS guy going, was that hooker dead?
I'm sure. I've witnessed all of this.
Well, that's what I mean. Yeah.
I've witnessed all of this.
Construction guys going, Artie, did that clear up?
Yeah, really. Show me the scar. I want to see just one of them. Show me one.
Well, at least they're listening to the stories.
Well, it's the Stern show.
Yeah.
I'm telling guys
and it's prime.
I'm telling guys going to work in Missouri.
Right. You got to work on that show, and it's prime, man.
Listen, man, someone told me around 2003, somebody told me, and again, this is a testament to Howard. I jumped on a train that was already like moving fast. All I could do was fuck it up. That first ratings book, I'm going, what if it like plummeted?
Yeah.
I'm the only difference.
Yeah. They'll all stare at you.
Yeah, exactly. Like, wow, what's different?
No, look around the room and point at
That's true. You're lucky you didn't get your arm yanked off. That's how fast that fucking train was going at the time. No, that was well said.
Steamrolling and like, what stench of failure is coming from it? I would get,
the level of self-deprecation is amazing.
One of the agents.
Awesome.
One of the agents said to me that worked on the radio said they did some study in 2003 at 9:16 or whatever New York time. There were 11 million people listening to it.
Wow.
All over the and you realize what you're telling them because Howard's great that intimate thing. You think you're talking to him.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ.
That's right. A lot of people are hearing this right now.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, Cabby did a year in the joint because he fucking said he was saying out loud on the radio. He just wasn't paying taxes. On the commercial, I said, "Cabby, why don't you calm down? You're not on the yuck and fuck face show."
Good show though. Right, I always love that show.
Yuck's underrated.
Nothing against.
When those teams break up, it's always like one bitter guy.
I know. Same thing with the comedy duos.
Willie Tyler has not talked to Lester in
years. He's still mad about those McDonald's residuals. He's still goddamn angry.
That's right. That guy made more than I did.
I love that though. Why don't you calm down a little bit?
Yeah, I can't listen. What are you doing? The next day, two guys in like Men in Black suits came and said, "Where's Crazy Cabby's office?" Cut to him in chains. Yeah.
The next day?
He did a year. The next day.
Wow, they didn't fuck around.
I had two DEA agents come in because I made a joke. When Heath Ledger died, I said me and him had the same heroin dealer.
Yeah.
And the joke was, it was Mary Kate Olsen.
Right.
She was on her way to the planet.
I remember she was in there somehow.
She wasn't bringing him green juice.
Right.
So that was the joke, but the DEA didn't like that. So the next day, I'm at my place of business. I work there. You know how embarrassing it is? Like, security guys goes, he goes, "Oh, man, you're one entertaining fuck up, man." I go, "What are you talking about?" He goes, "The DEA guys here." They had the windbreakers on. They called me in a room and they said, we're investigating the death. Is that true?" I said, "No." I said, "Unless you want to investigate Mary Kate Olsen." That's all I meant.
Fake snitch on Mary Kate.
But they weren't sure that they had to combine.
By accident, they arrest the other one. That would be great.
Boom. Good night, everybody.
It's the kind of jokes that get you free wings. No, but
you should have set her up. That would have been hilarious.
Well, I said no, guys, and thanks for doing it like discreetly.
Yeah,
they came
exactly.
to the show. We were in a commercial break, for Christ's sake.
Right.
And they left, and everyone was like, "How was the meeting with the DA?"
So what's going on over there, man? There's changes, and you went. I guess you went off a little bit on the podcast, and then the Daily Mail picked it up.
Every once in a while,
you dip in a little bit,
because I start thinking about it. Because people do call me good people who were like family to them. I saw that. They were like sons to them. Some of them, and they're in a lot of trouble, and they can't get in touch with them. They think I can get in touch with them. I think I can't either.
Yeah.
And there's this woman over there who just took over.
Marcy.
Yeah, Marcy Turk, who's like, this is so. I mean, I've never met her, but she seems like an evil person. And, suppose you have to talk to her to get permission to talk to him.
Well,
I said that you can't. That can't be the same guy I work for.
Well, that was the mistake I made. I guess I had to tell her I'm going to say good morning to Howard in the hallways.
You don't want to. Do that.
You don't want to do that.
Well, I can confirm that. Yeah, because I would love to throw you under the bus. You told me, you told me when it happened. Like I swear to God, you were genuinely confused for like a week. He was walking around going, I still can't fucking put this together. How this works?
And it's you. You're a major guy.
Well, they're not really treating me that.
But you are. You are.
Let's just say I used to be.
Don't have a chair.
No,
I used to be.
You still are.
I used to be. I don't have a fucking chair.
I'll say it for you.
Okay.
I don't think you deserve a chair. But
how about a beanbag chair?
It really is. The New York Times did an article about Howard. And it was. I mean, look, he deserves all these accolades. He's the best ever. Like I with all due respect to all you guys, I sat next to that guy for 3 feet from him for 10 years. The guy is a genius at doing that. But what he's doing right now is going to hurt his legacy because there's not one person who works for him who can say nice things. Where they all would have said something nice when I left there.
Yeah.
He just has an impressive brain too. He's a smart guy. He's getting brainwashed by some con. She seems like she's a con artist. She's a fucking con artist. She's a grifter.
Succubus.
Yeah, I mean,
one of my favorite.
I truly don't know much about her.
She tapped into his anger,
right?
Of like, that, and look, he deserves to be angry too. He was a guy making $96 a week, and he says this out. He's told this before in Detroit as Hopalong Howie in the country station. Nobody wanted to be with him, and his wife really loved him. It was a beautiful like sort of love story. And he came and he's fucking just scorched the earth, man. He came and just became the Babe Ruth of radio. Now everybody wants to be his friend.
Yeah.
And he has a lot of anger. And this woman, you don't have to be fucking Sigmund Freud. She saw like all these people don't really love you. I know. I get you. And, High Pitch Eric doesn't get you.
I don't know who that is.
Gary the retard doesn't get you.
Don't say Gary the retard, Artie.
I would have quit right there. I would have said, if I can't call him the retard anymore, I'm leaving.
Yeah. Howard doesn't say the word retard
It's
anymore.
Gary the Conqueror.
They
Bye.
changed his name to Gary the Conqueror.
Yeah, bye.
That must be confusing
Uplifting.
to Gary the retard.
For fucking 8 years, whenever he called, I would go, oh, retard! It was when Howard was on America's Got Talent as a judge, sitting next to Heidi fucking dickhead Nazi Klum.
Yeah.
She's judging comedians. A stuttering comic. Howard told a stuttering comedian that he was an unfunny stuttering comedian.
Yeah.
That he was inspirational. Stuttering John was almost suicidal after those shows. He couldn't open his mouth without Fred. He almost hung himself 3 times. I guess inspirational. What the fuck, Howard? How is he pulling this off?
I guess I would say this: people are allowed to change, right?
Yeah.
So
nobody changes like this. This would be like Hitler running a temple.
Oh, so you don't think the changes are like legit?
Look, let me tell you something.
Okay.
And you know comedy. Nobody can make that much of a pivot on how they feel about Ellen DeGeneres' dancing. I mean, we used to say what it is. This is horrible.
Yeah.
Housewives wouldn't laugh at this.
Yeah.
She's clearly like, she's duping the world.
Yeah.
And now he says he looks forward to it.
Are you fucking kidding me? Whose joke was it that I used to love? Because it might have been him or you that said, zoom in on her face. She looks just like Owen Wilson. There's an uncanny similarity. And that's from their show somewhere.
Look, sure, if it was me, I would have said Flip Wilson. No, you're right. She does. She does. She's clearly just she came out at the right time.
Yeah.
You know, like that show was terrible.
I said she doesn't even really want to dance either, but being a lesbian, she figured out this bit where she gets to rub up against the women every day at work.
That's your angle.
That was my angle. Yes, right. Of course it was.
That's a good point.
Because she's a stand-up comic, so there's no way in the end she actually likes dancing for people.
Megan Fox is on today.
Right.
We're going to make the dancing longer.
Right. So she's got like...
That's how she met Portia.
She's got these hot women in the audience like wiggling their hips. She's a lesbian. She gets to pick
at her.
She gets to pick what row she goes down. She sees which women she's attracted to that afternoon.
She looks like
and then
Chuck
she goes for it.
Chuck Knobloch.
You're right. She's picking up pussy.
She studies the audience. I did this whole bit. And then she's like, I'm going down this aisle, and then see, there she goes. All right, I like this.
Do a little gauntlet.
Pick up the documentary. Let's Spend the Night Together. The Rolling Stones, 1981. Bill Wyman plays the bass. All he does is look for pussy. That's all he does. You think, what, we got shattered?
Yeah.
He's not even playing sometimes. He's lighting a cigarette and just looking for fucking pussy. That's what she's doing. Like, hey, come on backstage. That's true. I never noticed that.
So yeah, he can't be looking forward to Ellen DeGeneres dancing every day.
Who could do that?
That's just silly.
That's an about face, boy. I tell you,
it's a big about face.
But you're not believing in the about face itself.
No, who could change that much?
Right.
Yeah, who could change that much?
Ice-T went from saying kill the cops to playing a cop on TV. Remember Body Count?
That was a good one.
Yeah, exactly.
Eric, I still can't hear you in the headphones. I only bitched about that for the last 3 days. Maybe they'll fix that eventually. But what were you going to say?
There's a lot of talk about The Bachelor on there.
On the Stern show?
No, that used to be, that was always, his taste in TV was always the Friends, The Bachelor,
Right.
He used to do that. But as far as Ellen DeGeneres being like Richard Pryor because she dances, we used to hate her. The tapes are there. Pick up the fucking tapes. This is an illusion. Sometimes I think I'm in a fucking dream world. Sometimes I think I stabbed myself and died, and I woke up in a world where Howard Stern likes Ellen DeGeneres is dancing. I woke up in a world where the Yankees suck, the Mets are good, and Howard Stern loves Ellen DeGeneres.
Keep going. Come on.
Yeah, Portia de Rossi. Again, she's like she's had her face buried in that pussy for fucking 7 years. I'd be in a daze too. She's like a surrogate for her. And he has her on the show and kisses her ass. He said he looks forward to the dancing. He gets up and looks forward to it.
Do you feel like he wants his legacy to be a little different? Because when you're in the shock
he
jock
wants to make
world,
it shittier.
Well, no, I mean when you're getting older and this is what you do for a living, maybe you don't want to be known as the guy that was throwing baloney on girls' asses, and you're hoping that.
What do you want to be known as?
I think he wants to be known as a great interviewer.
He is. He definitely.
All right,
is,
but
listen,
he already has that.
The guy is the one. Here's what disappoints me. He's the one guy who could say to these PC police who took over show business, fuck you. I can make more money than any of you. My fans like me more, and I could say whatever the fuck I want.
Right.
He's the one guy who could have done that and make $100 million. I don't need to kiss Brad Pitt's ass.
Right.
He needs to kiss mine, quite frankly.
Right.
And we all felt like idiots. My point is, look, I was a fan of that show before I got on. My old man came home from work one day. My father climbed roofs for a living. He was a roofer. Got to the 9th grade in school. And he comes to me and he goes, the summer of 1982, he goes, you're coming to work with me tomorrow. I go, why? He goes, you got to hear this fucking guy. He's so funny. And I think you'd love him. So my father and me bonded on two things, the Yankees and Howard Stern.
Right.
That was it. And we would stop and pull over and eat lunch. My mother would make like a sausage and pepper sandwich. And we're sitting there and we're listening to him. We bonded on it. It was so fucking funny. Yeah. So when he fell and became a quadriplegic, he fell off a roof. We had, again, what you tell, but I don't give a shit. Lawyers came around to sue people because if you fall off a ladder, you sue the ladder company. You get millions of dollars. So this lawyer comes around and he goes, all right, we're going to sue the ladder company because you fell off a house that has no homeowner's insurance. And the guy had $200,000 to his name. My mother refused to take that money from him, which I was proud of my mom for that. She wouldn't take the guy's life savings. The guy goes, no, don't worry. The ladder company will pay up because they'll feel bad. So when he said that, I said to my dad, I said, should you tell him or me? I went up to the lawyer. I said, he stole the ladder. The guy said, what? He goes, I said, the ladder says Bell Atlantic on it. My father was driving by a Sears warehouse, and he needed a new ladder. So he sees, he was a kleptomaniac from Newark, my father. He sees a ladder next to a bell truck. He goes quietly, takes it like it's his ladder, and puts it on his van. And that was the ladder he fell off of.
Right.
He had to put that ladder on a picnic table because it wasn't tall enough.
Yeah.
So the lawyer hears that, and he goes, "Excuse me?" I said, he stole the ladder. He calmly put his notes back together and said, "I wish you guys luck." So I had we had to go on welfare. We went on welfare. Wow. It was very difficult. So the only thing in that depressing time, we're about to lose the house, is he would laugh at the Stern Show. That was the one thing.
Yeah.
And we sent away to all these local celebrities, the Giants, the Jets, and Howard, for something for an auction for him. Howard is the only guy who sent something. He sent a satin K-Rock jacket that he signed. And one day we're listening, and we got on the air. He said, Gary said, "By the way, that quadriplegic got the jacket." And Howard said, "Does he think if he wears the jacket, he's going to walk again?" It was so funny. He did it.
Of course.
It was a Howard joke. We were laughing at. We were on the show in 1987. My father dies in 90. And when he died, he said, "Take care of your mother and sister," on his deathbed, basically. I was a mess when he died. So, as opposed to the Jack LaLanne I am now. So he never saw that. The job I got about 9 years later, being a co-host of that show, he would have been like, if I was a senator, it wouldn't have been as impressive.
Right,
he
of
would
course.
have, and I feel sort of robbed of that a little bit. So that's the connection I have with Howard. So this comes from a place of a lot of love.
Yeah, I didn't know about the backstory.
Yeah.
I had no idea that you and your father were on there back in the day.
Well, he mentioned my dad, and then my dad died of complications. And some guy helped him kill himself. He would ask me to kill him every day. And because he was in hell, and I said, "Dad, are you thinking this through? What about me?"
Right, right. I got to live with this.
So you're in hell for whatever the fuck you did, and I'm in Trenton State. How is that helping the family? Wow. So the Stern Show meant a lot to me for a long time. It still does, and I just think this woman is a con artist and somehow infiltrated over there, and people are getting mistreated. And the stories I've heard directly from people, I won't say any names, but it's like, that's not Howard, man. Howard, the guy I knew was so generous,
right?
Paid for everything, wouldn't let anybody, like he acted like he should. A lot of celebrities have a resentment, like, no, he just, everything was on him. Right. Private jets. And so what's happening right now is it's just weird,
What about Gary? How does he fit in with this whole thing?
I mean, Gary's
wasn't Gary the one that was pretty much running everything behind the scenes, and now she kind of took over for that, right?
Yeah, you think that makes Gary feel good? This broad comes in and got a bigger office.
This sounds like when the billionaire, the heiress, or the butler starts manipulating them late in life.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to prevent happening.
Remember that? I've seen too many Lifetime made-for-television. Doris Duke, the poor little rich girl.
Oh, you're right. All of a sudden, Howard's praising Z Morning Zoo guys.
You said in the Daily Mail, the Daily Mail listened to your podcast, did a whole story.
Oh, thanks, guys. I hope they're not stealing it like everyone else.
I got to listen for free.
I know.
Okay. And I
don't know how to do that.
I just call him. That's what I do.
Your quote is saying Howard lost his mind if the stories I hear are accurate.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. Again, in print stuff sounds a little harsh.
Yeah.
But no. But I mean that again. Worried about him because they are. If the stories are accurate, it's like he does seem like he lost a part of his mind that sort of had compassion for the people that worked there. And believe me, he had a lot of it. And it wasn't fake either. The TV guys, they were fired on the air.
I know.
They were soldiers. They
were
loyal.
Awesome guys.
They
were
pirates, those guys. So much fun. And they were like sons to him. And now they can't get him on the phone.
On the softening, do you think, like the Ellen stuff, did he become a grandpa? I've seen a lot of mean guys go soft when grandpa time rolls
Well, that's
around.
the other thing, too, about Howard. One of the best compliments you give anybody. He's got 3 unbelievably wonderful, classy daughters. They're so sweet, those girls. He's a great parent, clearly. Like, there's no hint of...
Well, that's what I'm saying. If one of them got married and the grandkids come rolling in, everybody's seen Dr. Doom turn into, Care Bear.
Well, to his credit, I think to his credit, he stopped with the Sybian because...
He's enjoying the Ellen dancing.
Anything's possible.
Anything is fucking possible.
But he could be the head of ISIS. Maybe this woman's ISIS. I never thought of it. They radicalized the redhead. I mean, she's very dangerous. Uh-huh. Well, no, but again, he stopped. His daughters got older. He stopped doing stuff with the Sybian, and he's capable, clearly, of evolving. He can assimilate to any type of radio and be great. But him and his wife did an amazing job with those kids. Like, that's hard to do. And I know he really, that was important to him.
Right.
And I met all 3 of them briefly, and they're just, they're so sweet, they're respectful, and you meet some rich kids in L.A., man. Oh my God, I just want to punch them in the face. Like I hate that they get better weed than me. I think he didn't have another kid because of me. I think, look, I'm 3 for 3. He's like, what if I have Artie?
We'll stop right here.
So he's a good man. So what is the explanation for this? I don't know.
What about he seems to be holding a grudge against you because I read the article and by the way, this is weird because you've been doing my show for a couple of years and I purposely made sure not to talk about this stuff.
Yeah, well,
but now it's like it's out there, so I guess today is.
Again, I don't think I'm saying anything. Like I'm saying stuff where I'm actually complimenting him as how great he is, how great he was to me, and how weird these stories. I'm trying to give a voice to some of these guys,
right?
And I had a choice to not to do that.
Right.
And I wouldn't say any names, but
what about the?
Listen, I did something. Here's another thing. I hate when people say he never tried to help you. I go, how would you know? These people just listen to the show. Howard tried to help me for 5 straight years. He told me, what better can a boss say than this? He said, Art, go get better. Take as long as you want. I'll help you. When you're done, come back and you have a job. What else would you want to? He said it to me 3 times.
Yeah.
And I tried a couple of times, and I shit all over it like a typical addict.
Right.
I left the rehab in Miami, okay? While they were on the air, January of 2009, I went to the Satai 5-star hotel in South Beach. I got a hooker. I ordered room service, and I called the show live. They thought I was in rehab, and I put the waiter on who couldn't speak English, and Howard asked what I had for breakfast. It was a lot of pancakes, and the hooker, and I'm like, clearly, it's like, and Gary said to me, he goes, all right, look, it was funny, but you don't want to get better. It makes us look stupid. It's disrespectful. We're helping you,
right?
And he was right. He was right.
But it's great radio.
It is great radio.
Sorry to say,
it never dawned on me. It never dawned on me that was a good point until he just said the guy said it. And
I know.
Oh fuck! Good point.
I'm just thinking about.
Damn it!
From where I sit,
I'm missing good points.
From where I sit, I'm like, God damn, that's great radio.
I'll do you a favor. I'm gonna give you great radio.
Wow, that's great. Oh, that's right. This is a life and death situation.
I'm sorry. I know you secretly love Ellen, and you want to get to that.
The idiot Mr. Libra in me just constantly goes back and forth. I'm enthralled, and I'm like, oh fuck.
So let me tell you something. If you went back like defending your life with Albert Brooks and looked at my whole life, you'd see 2 things: a stunning lack of preparation, and 2, missing a lot of good points.
That's your headstone.
So that was the first time you left rehab?
Yeah, that was the 3rd time.
3rd time, okay.
If you go back to like 1.
So, but it seems like he's holding a grudge though, because I did something. I read the article, and when your book came out, if you obviously would love to have gone on that show and promoted it.
Right. Only if they want me to. I don't want, I was like, look, I don't want to be hostile.
But they asked, and they said no. And then the book company said, well, we'll buy a spot over there at least.
Yeah.
He reaches a huge audience.
They were playing,
And they said no to the Artie Lange book commercial.
The guy called me up. The guy from their marketing department, Simon Chu, said, Art, this has never happened before. They wouldn't take our money.
Yeah.
He didn't have to read it. Yeah. He never would even heard it was on.
Right.
Like a commercial you don't even hear is playing,
Right.
And a lot of money. And I don't want to ask because I don't want to give Gary the opportunity. I love Gary, but I don't want him to be so like, I don't want to get the smug attitude I just want to give some people who try to get back on. But they were paying me a lot of money. It was the 2nd book, and Too Fat to Fish made good money, so they gave me a lot of money. And I felt guilty. They said, all right, let me ask. It's the least I could do. Because one plug on that show sells a lot of books. Gary says, let me get back to you. The next day he calls me up. He goes, it just ain't happening. Almost with like a smuggy thing. I'm like, okay, Gar, thanks. I told the book company that, and then without me knowing, they tried to get the commercial played, and they couldn't believe that
they said no to the commercial.
So that's hostile. They said that. I mean, that's a hostile move.
What do you think you did to him? You just exhausted. He just got exhausted by you.
Listen, I was very disrespectful, but because I was on dope. I mean, I'm not a disrespectful guy, but when you're on heroin, I'm not me. But look, I could argue I was funnier on heroin. When I fell asleep, I was funnier.
Right.
My favorite thing I ever did on that show, I might have told you this. Kathy Griffin came in,
yes.
and said she was telling her mother that she won an Emmy, and it was all sentimental, and you just hear me snoring. It's just so great.
Goes right out on it, just your head down drooling.
Oh, I know. She's going, and my mother always wanted me to win an Emmy, Howard, and I told her, Mom, I'm nominated for an Emmy.
It's like the best.
I've never done anything funnier than that.
That's great.
It's just the best.
Subtlety at its finest.
But listen, I think he he started to make this pivot to this amazing show that he in his head. This show that, look, he said, I mastered that kind of radio. This is all my theory. And he said, I'm great at interviewing, and he was. He did the best Paul McCartney interview I've ever seen in my life, and he could do long form now. He probably said, look, these guys won't come in because of the type of radio I do. Let me make a pivot and let people know I'm not doing that anymore. And maybe Jack Nicholson comes in here, and I have the definitive Jack. I think he wants to leave behind a library of the greatest celebrity interviews.
Yeah, well, that's what I was saying. He wants to change his legacy a little bit and be known for a little something maybe a bit more highbrow.
But
Charlie Rose?
But ironically enough, well, that type of thing, yeah. But I mean, ironically enough, though, in doing this, he might change his legacy to where, it's not that great because of the people he's sort of ignoring. And I don't want that to happen. It's more important to me.
Right.
Gilbert has a great joke where he goes, I see Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in these awful movies, and they say our legacy doesn't mean anything. It means something to me.
Yes, exactly.
So,
when was the last time you saw Howard? I think you told the story. Wasn't it in a hospital?
The other thing was, the other thing that kind of hurt was the day I walked out of that show, and it was bad. He clearly made up his mind. I'm just never going to see Artie again. He can write people off like that. I'm not like that. I come from this big Guinea family where you fucking forgive everything. And I didn't see him for 2 years. I went to rehab. I came back. I was doing all right. I got this show with Apollo, and we were making good money and having fun. And I was doing stand up again. And I mean, the first show I went back to do stand up, I sold 6,000 tickets in Philly in 20 minutes because I guess I was an oddity. They wanted to see if I was walking, but like a gorilla in its enclosure. But I was back. Right.
Don't disturb him.
I was at one of those early shows. That's when I finally.
This is the show I saw you.
When we finally socialized. We used to see each other in the hallway here and there. And
that day I yelled at you. I was high. I was out of line.
No.
I apologize.
Wait a minute. Did you yell at him?
No,
I don't know any of this.
no.
I yelled. It's just long
we almost fought in the hallways. And
Really?
I saw the e-cameras coming. I'm like,
He
I
said
walked
something
away
in the
from
bathroom that was justified. He was like,
No, I was mad because what happens with these two shows over the years, there's some real shots taken. I'm not saying you personally took a shot. I don't know.
Though.
And if you did, whatever. I don't even give a fuck.
I mean, I'm sure.
Yeah. So. If you listen to the radio show, it sounds like an all-out radio war. Right. And then in the hallway, Artie's like, he's a great guy. And we know the same people.
Yeah,
and he's saying, hey, Ope, what's up? What's going on? And that day, I was so mad because I'm like, on the radio, you're playing this with the rest of them, you hate our fucking guts, but now we're we're buddies in the hall.
My only issue was people would play me tapes of you guys. Look, I was on Stern. It was a radio war. So what I said about you wasn't based in anything because I don't know you. So I was just talking.
Yeah.
And I was defending a guy, my boss. I'm defending Howard. And you mentioned something that was probably justified, and I blew up like an idiot. And Gary should just come back, and you walked out. And that was the only real interaction we ever.
I got in your face because it started with him just saying hi, and I'm like,
hi. That sounds familiar.
No, because it was like, oh yeah.
Maybe you should have hit him with a chair.
Why you?
I'm like, and I explained to him
that's how you get through to Artie.
That's fucked up because on the air you're not whatever. But the cool thing is,
come on, we all have. I'm Uncle Floyd's not
it's
like
all
that.
good. It's all good. But the cool thing with Artie though, we talked it out. I think it was the next day we happened to see each other in the hall again. We talked it out. We hugged, and,
you find
and
that
we're over it.
You realize how ridiculous it is. A radio
exactly,
war.
Exactly. But anyway, the last time you saw Howie,
I saw again. So I figured it was like I couldn't get in touch with him. I would call him and go, Howard, I just want to say I'm sorry. Because it wasn't his fault at all. When fans say that, I get so fucking mad, and I try to defend them. But maybe he was mad at that I put him through that, And people do lie to him, by the way, about stuff I never did, because the fucking sharks are swirling.
Oh,
a lot of people who thought they could sit in that chair,
right?
Who, there's a reson that chair has been empty for, not just because he hates me,
right?
But a lot of those people, there's a lot of gossip over there that I never partook in because I don't want to be a sycophant. I always said to myself, I can be funny without that shit. I don't have to tell you someone has a stain on their shirt. I can be funny.
Yeah.
And I was sort of proud of that. So who knows? But someone probably told him something that might not be true, and he doesn't, instead of checking with me. So it hurt a little bit that he was never going to see me again. Howard, Robin Quivers, who I adore, too. She, again, so generous to me when I was there. She bought me these real expensive gifts, was very nice to me. I threw her a party at my shore house, the only non-family member who I threw a party for because I felt I owed her, and I loved hanging out with her. She she got sick. She got cancer, and no one knew about it publicly for a while. But I got called by her assistant, and he said, "Robin wants you to know," and I was devastated by it. And she was getting a big operation at Beth Israel, and I went over there, and I made sure she was going to see visitors, and I went to unannounced. I was going to surprise her, and I made sure through the assistant it'd be okay. So I went there, and the security guard recognized me, and I go, "He's up there,
Oh, immediately.
I get this guy listens so much. It's like, I guess he knows the feel. I'm like, what do you? All right, everything's fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Don't get out the Uzis. I walk in the room. It's me, Howard, and Robin. After 2 years, after all that happened, in a small hospital room. Howard looked at me. It was like we just got off the radio. He said, "We got to make Robin laugh. Come on, Artie. Let's make Robin laugh." Perfect. Artie's a perfect guy. And I sat down, and for like an hour, we talked like we were on the radio, making her laugh. And it was like touching almost. Yeah. And then he had to leave, and I said, "I'm going to stay and talk to Robin for a while." And I hugged him, and I said, "I'm sorry. This is not the place to do it." And he goes, "How you doing?" I go, "I'm on to the show with Nick." He goes, "That's great." And it was sort of like this, I'm done now. That attitude of like, I got to leave.
Right.
So I let him go, and I hugged him, and that was it. He goes, "Can I call you?" He goes, "Yeah." So I stayed in with Robin for another hour or so, and that was very nice. She looked good, but she was in the woods for a while, and she beat it, and I know she would. And I got out and I called him again, and he never called me back. 3 times I left messages. I said, "This is the last time, man. I'm not going to be that guy who bugs you."
And you didn't want anything.
No, of course not. No,
I want people to know that because you were doing great with Nick and the books.
I don't need anything.
Yeah.
Look, I would go back to loaded trucks before I asked anybody for anything.
Sure.
I don't need that.
Totally.
I went off on a tangent, but that's what I meant to say. So I was at one of those first shows down in Philly when you came back for the first time, and holy fuck, the love in that room.
Yeah, they were
you destroyed, and the fans were out of their minds.
Well, those are radio fans. You could attest to that. Radio fans are much more affectionate and like intimate than TV and movie because you're their friend going to work or something in the car, or not going to work. It's like, and those people there. I always knew they felt that way, but that was the epicenter. That was Philly.
Yeah.
It was South Jersey, North Jersey, and New York. That's all Atlantic City, and you get that epicenter of Stern people. There were girls there hugging me like they were crying, like they were my cousin.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just so happy they look like me, but no, I'm kidding. They were hugging me like I was related to them, and they were we're just so happy you're okay, and it was a real thing, and that's what Howard and stuff like guys like you who made and Anthony who made a real impact on fans. You should be proud of that because there are the yuck and dickhead shows. They try like crazy.
Yeah,
they can't do it. So Howard made that connection that I sort of jumped onto, and the fact that they accepted me into that family is the best thing that's ever going to happen to me in a comedy career. I have a connection with a crowd, and so this is not coming from a hateful place with Howard. It's coming from a place where I for a couple of years I had those guys calling, and I'm trying to stand up for them a little bit. At the end of the day, Howard's going to be fine. Some of these guys might need a place to stay, and I don't want to be my place.
I'm the lucky one in this whole thing because they're all marching to my show.
Listen, thank you for giving us. This is great to do this.
It's been you, it's been Gilbert, it's been Pat Cooper, Stuttering John came in here, Jackie the Joke Man.
Look,
I'm like, hey, all's welcome.
I read on Twitter you and Vic Henley are, and I'm like, this is great.
Yeah.
From what I've learned from you guys and other radio across America and 30 years on the road is not only are the fans that passionate, and y'all said radio wars, I bet you there are radio war reenactors. Somewhere in Wichita, there's 2 groups of fuckers that are still going after each other because of morning zoo and against the Dawn Patrol.
Guys who dress up like Ron and Fez.
They're grabbing a wig and leaving their house to fight the war.
I'm Cousin Brucey. Bob and
that's what I'm saying. Bob and Tom.
Yeah, Bob and Tom
versus John Boy and Billy. Throwing it down, by God.
Oh, that's great.
Where I sit, I don't get it.
You're lucky you're sitting. You got a chair.
Thank you. I don't get it to a point because guys like you and Gilbert and Cooper, especially Jackie to some extent, I'm like, how do you let those guys go? They're fucking unbelievable.
It's hard to find
Cooper.
To find funny guys on the radio.
You say hi to Pat Cooper and you sit back for an hour and he just fucking destroys.
You get a 3-act play. And Pat Cooper. This might be my favorite mention of any celebrity. In Pat Cooper's book, here's a sentence: I love Artie Lange, but he's an asshole.
That should be on the back of your book. That should be the quote.
What asshole does heroin and stabs himself?
But why did he turn his back on all those guys?
Again, it's a contempt for people that he developed. He's seen a shrink on the Upper West Side must charge him like crazy money.
Yeah.
He should sue that guy. That guy, it's not working.
It's not working.
Yeah, like I say it sometimes on stage, I go, I've been seeing a personal trainer for a year.
Yeah.
I think I have a lawsuit. Well, that's it. I mean, you know what? You just got, that's as honest as I've ever been anywhere about this publicly. And,
right.
That's it. I'm just puzzled. It's more to give these guys who call me a little bit of a voice, but I want to let people know how great Howard was to me and how great a person I knew, and why this is all just a little weird. That's all.
Right.
That's how it sounds to me. I don't think. And a minute ago when you said it was like touching, it was fucking amazingly touching.
Yeah. I mean, we were
the hospital room story. It was like that. No, I was sitting there. I'm like, I'm about to tear up. It was more than like touching.
Right. Yeah.
It was fucking touching.
Well, the three of us were alone. Imagine that in the hospital.
That's wonderful.
Yeah. And Jackie was there, and I took over for him. I think. Jackie was in the room first. They said over money he left.
Well, that's what they did the night they wouldn't play your book commercial. They just replayed a lot of his VHS cassettes. They just sold a lot of copies of Who Farted, Ice Melted.
Hot dogs and donuts. Talk about the lowest common denominator.
I think why the hospital room worked was because everything was stripped down to just nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was no bullshit.
And there was a real serious thing.
Yeah.
Robin was sick.
Right, right. So all the gossip doesn't mean anything. The relationships you might have with other fucking people and the fans and this and that. It was just you three in a room in a serious situation.
And Howard immediately diffused it. He immediately said,
but my point is that should have fueled something.
Yeah.
Something. Not maybe.
I called him. That's all I can tell you. The truth is, I called him. I left 3 voicemails, 3 different days, and finally I said, Howard, I'm not going to be that guy because I've been on the other side of this.
I didn't talk to him for almost 2.5 years, and
you never, guys can make the kind of comedy in the radio you make. Like fans want to think you get along.
Right.
I think that's what I always said about the Beatles. Like people say, you want them to get along. You want Alan Arkin was getting interviewed. And he was a big Beatles fan. He said, "Look, it was so sad to us. These guys who made this music hated each other.
Right? They hated each other the whole time.
Right? Because you feel like you're duped as fans or something.
Right.
You wanted it to be like the movie where they all walk in 4 separate doors, and then they're actually living in one big room together.
That's what I mean. Right? That's what you think it is.
Right.